I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. The board will go into a closed meeting as authorized by the Texas Open Meetings Act under the Texas Government Code sections listed on our agenda. The board is back in open session. The time is now 6:02 p.m.
It's still not picking
Are
up.
there any motions?
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion.
All right, Dr. Fuller.
I move for the approval of mediation agreement in AT versus Montgomery ISD Texas Education docket number 279 SE 0523, SOA docket number 70123 18967, and related actions as discussed in closed session.
Thank you, Dr. Fuller. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Nguyen, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstained? That motion carries. At this time, the special meeting is adjourned. I'd like to call to order the MISD August 21st, 2023 regular meeting. Please join me in the pledge to the United States and Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Recognitions this evening?
Yes, Madam President, we have two wonderful MISD employees that we would like to recognize tonight on their retirement. Chris Lynn, we'll invite him up first. He's going to share some information about Director of Child Nutrition, Ms. Lena Neugebauer.
Thank you, Dr. Busby. Ms. Lena, if you would, please join me up here at the podium. So for those of you who don't know Ms. Lena Neugebauer, she has been in Montgomery ISD for the past 25 years. She's been our amazing Director of Child Nutrition Services. This is a bittersweet evening for those of us in MISD. We are happy that she's going to get to pursue her dreams of retirement and do whatever it is that she chooses to do on a daily basis, but we all are going to miss her immensely. She has had the privilege of ensuring that our campuses consistently serve healthy, delicious meals, but most importantly, with the utmost emphasis on customer service. Lena has cared about her employees tremendously throughout her career, as you can tell by the amazing outpouring of family, friends, and colleagues that are here tonight to celebrate her. Some of you may not know that Lena's road to child nutrition began in cosmetology. It did, but she finally figured out her path, and we're so ever thankful that she did. Lena leads with her heart and her passion for feeding hungry kids. A couple of her things that she will be known for under her leadership: the Child Nutrition Department partnered with the Student Nutrition Advisory Council to host the MISD's first walkathon for hunger back in 2021. The walkathon has become an annual community outreach event to support the Montgomery County Food Bank. There are so many things that happened under Lena's leadership. We just can't list them all tonight. But I know that she will not miss the early mornings, cases of milk when freezers or refrigerators done for Montgomery ISD. She has done a tremendous job overseeing our child nutrition department, and we have been truly blessed by her leadership, and we wish her all the best in her retirement. On behalf of the district, Lena, congratulations. Thank you for your wonderful service to Montgomery ISD. I think Dr. Busby has a plaque to say thank you, a small token of our appreciation for your service. And we would like to get some pictures with you and our board of trustees.
To all of you guys, of course, I want to say thank you. Thank you for 25 years to Montgomery ISD. There have been a lot of changes over the 25 years, but this job would never happen alone. I have an amazing staff that I work with every single day that makes my job so much easier. They have a passion and they have a desire to feed the students just as I do. And without them, I would have never been the person that I am today. And we would never have been as successful as we are without all the hard work that the staff and the managers do on a daily basis. And they work very, very hard. And with 25 years, you also can't do this job alone without bringing your family into it. Not only have I moved food on a daily basis, or weekends, or cleaning kitchens, or Carolyn and I pulling wire, and I know that was a long time ago, you guys, in the ceiling, by getting a computer, but you had to do what you had to do, and my family did it right along with me. So I thank you to the family of sitting all in the living room floor, stuffing envelopes or free and reduced applications or whatever needed to be done. Everybody in my family has always been there for me also. And I thank God for giving me the ability to be able to do this job. So thank all of you for everything.
Thank you, Lena. I know she acknowledged her strong team, and she definitely does have a strong team, but a strong team is a reflection of a strong leader. So, Lena, thank you for your leadership here at Montgomery ISD. Our next person that we would like to acknowledge is Chief Phillips, and Justin Marino is going to come up and give a little introduction.
Good evening, Dr. Busby and Board of Trustees. It's a privilege and an honor for me to recognize Chief Phillips tonight because very few folks know that we actually started in Montgomery ISD on the same day, 3 years ago. And Chief, do you remember the first thing I said to you when we met? I said, Chief, I hope we never have to work together. Usually not a good thing when the communications director and the chief of police are on the phone. But we did work together quite a bit, and it was you will never work with a more authentic leader, somebody who has the utmost integrity and poise, and it was just a privilege. I've learned so much from Chief about being a strong leader and being confident, and just the integrity piece is amazing. And he, Chief came into our district at a bit of a time of transition for our police department, and he was the right leader at the right time. He should be very proud of everything he put in place, our processes, procedures, and just restoring the community confidence in our police department. The last 2 years in our district-wide survey, our police department was rated the highest as far as customer service from parents and staff, and that is not something to overlook or be taken lightly. That is because of Chief's leadership, and he has left this department in great hands with incoming Chief Dory, and I know Chief Dory will come in and take what Chief has built and move the department to even greater heights. So on behalf of Montgomery ISD, we've been honored to have Chief Phillips' leadership and service to our school district, and we congratulate you on your retirement. So I think we also have a plaque for Chief.
Okay, ready? Yep. Oops, sorry. 1, 2, 3. Did you get yours? Okay. Great. Thank y'all. As Mr. Marino said, another great leader in Chief Phillips that we've had the pleasure to work with the last few years. So I wish him the best of luck in his retirement, and again, appreciate his leadership. But now to the next chapter. We are also going to recognize tonight Ricky Dory and his wife Cindy, if y'all would like to come up. Mr. Dory will be sworn in this evening as the new MISD Police Chief, and Montgomery County Judge Wayne Mack will be here to administer the oath of office.
duties of the office
the Chief of Montgomery
of Chief of Montgomery
ISD Police Department
ISD Police Department
and of the state of Texas,
and of the state of Texas,
and will to the best of my ability
and will to the best of my ability
preserve,
protect,
defend
defend
the Constitution
the Constitution
and the laws of the United States
and the laws of the United States
and this state.
and this state.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, sir.
Sure. Well, while he's taking care of some paperwork, I'm going to go over a couple of highlights about Chief Dory. He has been in law enforcement for 33 years and spent many of those years in the city of Tomball, working closely with Tomball ISD. So he has experience working with students and school personnel, and it makes him the perfect fit to lead Montgomery ISD school force. He understands the role of our school resource officers play in building relationships with our students while staying vigilant about protecting them. So we are delighted to welcome you, Chief Dory, to our team and to be the leader of our MISD police force. So let's give a big welcome to Chief Dory.
Picture time.
Blood panic.
You know, this is what helps me be who I am, is the relationships that we've had and the support that I get from the men and women who we serve next to. So, again, thank you. I appreciate it. And we've got work to do.
Right. Are there any citizens who would like to address the board regarding the proposed tax rates? No? All right, moving on. Are there any public comments? We do have two right here. Before we move on to public comments, I need to read this to you. The board will hear comments from the audience only during the public comment portion of the meeting. Individuals wishing to speak must have added their name and topic to the public comment sign-up sheet prior to the starting of the board meeting. The board will allot 3 minutes to tonight's public comment portion of the meeting. Each speaker will be allowed a maximum of 3 minutes to address the board. Please respect the privacy of others and refrain from identifying students, employees, or other community members by name. The board requests that comments on any subject, whether positive or negative, be courteous and respectful. Disruption of the meeting will not be tolerated at any time. All right. First, we have Ms. Jenny Drude from Montgomery, Texas.
So usually when I do this, I have something prepared to say, but I did not write anything down this time. Most of you know, because I'm going to assume all of you know, because some of you were talking about it this weekend to the public about the assault my son endured at Lake Creek this week, on Friday. The student took way too long to be held accountable. He was roaming the streets. He was looking for my son, showing up at places that we frequent. I've talked to y'all countless times about wanting to protect kids like my son in our school district. I spoke at my first school board meeting about this 3 years ago, and this is still a thing. I understand that I'm just a face, and some of you think I'm just an annoying mom who likes attention, but this has never been about me. All the other times I spoke, it was about the other kids and my son. This time is about my son. These are his injuries that he endured under y'all's watch, and I'm ashamed of all of you. If this happened to my kid, it can happen to any one of our kids. It could happen to one of your kids. We don't know, because y'all are not doing your very best to educate the other kids about kids with autism and how to treat other people with respect. So I'm holding all of you accountable, and you should be ashamed on yourselves.
Ms. Drude. Next, we have Ms. Lauren Edge.
Ladies and gentlemen of the school board, my name is Lauren, and I'm a parent of 2 students at Montgomery ISD. I'm standing here as a representative from the Montgomery, Texas Moms Facebook group, and we are asking for you to consider providing an early and/or late bus service for our students participating in extracurricular activities. Many of the moms in our group work, or we have multiple children in different schools, which creates issues trying to juggle dropping them off for their 6 a.m. activities or picking them up from the after-school ones. They have shared the disappointment that many of their children are facing because they can't participate in the wonderful extracurricular activities that are offered by their schools because of transportation issues. We recognize the immense value of extracurricular engagement in our students' holistic development, not to mention that increased participation will add healthy competition, which could catapult our district to higher rankings in various competitions. We understand the challenges that our district faces, including the nationwide shortage of qualified bus drivers. However, I firmly believe that where there is vision and determination, there is a way. Could there be grants or alternative funding sources to alleviate the financial burden of this proposal and hire more bus drivers? Could we possibly treat the service as we treat school lunches, where parents pay a small fee for the service and then lower income families could apply for a waiver? We've had an overwhelming response from the moms just in our group alone. Here are some of the comments. One of the moms said, "The additional buses would make a world of difference in our house. My kids don't usually get to participate because we aren't able to get them there or pick them up because of work." Another mom said, "The last few years was a rush to get my kids from after-school activities from junior high into high school, and then rush to get my elementary school kid off the bus. Times I've had to have the oldest wait for me to get the littles off the bus before I could go get her from the high school." And one of the other moms said, "This is the first district that I have ever been in that doesn't offer these services, especially with summer school and all the activities there." In conclusion, I ask you to see beyond the immediate challenges and exemplify the MISD vision of providing all students in Montgomery ISD with a premier education, empowering them to reach their full potential, and I'll add here, in whatever field, be it academic or extracurricular, and be prepared for future success. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Edge. All right, moving on to our consent agenda. Is anyone interested in pulling a consent agenda item? If there is none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Porton. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstain? All right, that motion carries. Moving on to action items. 7A. Okay, so for the next action items, we will have our Chief Financial Officer, Ben Davidson, come and give us information about the action items.
Good evening. We'll start with action item 7A. The first action item on the agenda is the approval of the debt service collection rate. You can scroll to page 34 in your packet if you want to follow along. But every year the tax office sends us this report for your consideration. The report shows the district's debt collection amount and the figures that are used to calculate and establish the anticipated collection rate. The report shows the actual collection rates from 2020, 2021, and 2022. In 2020, we were at 100.6%. 2021, we were at 100.10%. And 2022, we were at 99.36%. These rates are used to establish our collection rate for the 2023 year, which is set at 100% by the tax office. And that rate goes into the calculations to set our maximum established tax rate. Does anybody have any questions on that?
No questions? Okay. Is there a motion to approve to accept excess collections for the 2022 debt service and certification of debt service collection rate for 23-24 as presented? Thank you, Mr. Kirby. Is there a second? Mr. Dennison seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? That motion carries. All right, so we'll move on to 7B, debt service tax rate.
Okay. This motion will set the tax rate for the debt service for the district. This debt service rate is used to make our bond payments every year. When we went out for the bond election in 2022, we had anticipated having to increase our debt service rate by about 0.7 of 1 penny. And fortunately, we're not having to do that this year. We're going to be able to maintain the same rate that we had in prior years. And so that's a plus for the district. Our property growth has allowed us to keep that rate the same, and we don't see any need to increase it. So we would like to set the rate at 0.3734.
Any questions? All right, is there a motion?
I'll move that the 23 ad valorem tax rate for debt service be adopted and set by order resolution at .3743 over $100.
Thank you, Dr. Fuller. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Kirby. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? That motion carries.
All right.
Moving to 7C, maintenance and operations tax rate.
Okay. The maintenance and operations rate is what we use to set our general fund budget every year. This one looks really good on the graph. You can follow back to 2009-10 and see our historic path on our tax rate. We were at $1.34 back then. And we've gradually gone down. We had an upswing in 16-17 through 19-20. We were able to drop it there. And now we're down to 67.44 cents for every $100 evaluation. This is a decrease of about 18 cents on our tax rate, and it's a real benefit to our local taxpayers. And does anybody have any questions on that rate?
Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll move that the 23 ad valorem tax rate for maintenance operation be adopted and set by order of resolution at .0.6744 cents over $100 evaluation.
Thank you, Dr. Fuller. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Nguyen. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstain? That motion carries. Moving to 7D,
All right.
which is purchase for CTE vehicles.
Yes, the Career and Tech Department is requesting the purchase of 6 vehicles. These vehicles will be used for student travel and transport of their animals to shows. We're using Career and Tech funds for these, which are earmarked specifically for those programs. The funds have to be used for the Career and Tech Department. And so we're buying these through the TASB buy board. It's a purchasing cooperative that allows us to get better rates than you could get on the open market. And it also keeps us in compliance with the Texas purchasing laws.
All right, any questions on that? Okay, is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the vehicle purchases as presented.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kirby. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Robb. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? That motion carries. Moving to 7E,
All right, I'm
which
gonna
is
turn it over to
playground
Chris.
equipment we're switching out here.
We're going to switch out, yes. For the next two items, we're going to have our Chief Operations Officer, Chris Lynn.
Thank goodness for Ben for taking care of those first 4 items for me. Come in front of you this evening and ask for your approval for a purchase over $50,000 for playground equipment at Lone Star Elementary. As you remember, as we were going through the 2022 bond program, elementary playground equipment and shade structures were a component of that program. And so our Assistant Superintendent of Elementary, Ms. Carrie Fitzpatrick, has been working with Principal Stowe over at Lone Star on designing new playground space and new equipment additions for their campus. That information was presented in your packet, but we are asking for your approval of that purchase this evening.
All right, are there any questions?
Mr. Lynn, is this, what does this do for our total number of playgrounds at elementary schools?
So far, this would be the second out of 6. So your first one was Lincoln. This one is Lone Star. Next on the list, we're about to start working with Stewart Creek. And then we will ultimately make it through Madeley Ranch, Montgomery Elementary, until we get all 6 elementaries taken care of. And then obviously as we build Creekside, our 7th elementary, there will be a playground incorporated along with the construction for that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. As we have painfully learned, playground equipment is a very long lead item. I know when we brought Lincoln's playground to you several months ago, we learned it was a 6-month delivery time frame. So I would anticipate sometime after the first of the year We have not been given any definitive delivery dates at this point. But I do know, just like at Lincoln, they will be out later this week to start the installation of the shade structures. So shade structures generally show up well before playground equipment. So they will notice some changes before, in the coming months, but the equipment may not actually be installed until later this year or after the first of the year.
Questions?
With the lead times being that far out, is there a reason why we're not ordering now in terms of the upcoming schools, or?
We are taking the approach, allowing every campus to have input on the design of what's appropriate for their campus. And so that takes a little bit of time. We've got so much going on with the bond. There's only so many hours in the day that we can, dedicate to everything. So we're doing the best we can to make playgrounds a priority. Like I said, next up is Stewart Creek, and so we will continue to work with the other campuses. Also, as you go through renovation projects or purchasing different things, it's generally best to spread things out a little bit so that everything doesn't come due all at once in the future. I don't know how, we're fortunate with right now, the district has bond funds to be able to pay for these expenditures. In the future, we may not. So if all 6 of our playgrounds suddenly come, to their life end all at the same time, that could put a financial burden on the district. And so we do try and spread purchases out, just like we did not order all of our buses allotted through the bond program at one time. We're making sequential purchases. That way, everything doesn't run out of its life expectancy at the same time.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Lynn, we're on track with bond funds. Everything's good. We've got the money for this.
Yes, sir.
Is there a motion to approve the purchase of $50,000 for the playground equipment at Lone Star Elementary School? Thank you, Mr. Dennison. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, Ms. Porton. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? That motion carries. Shutting the door real quick. All right, moving to 7F, the easement agreement.
Yes, so the district has been approached by Stanley Lake Municipal Utility District. They have asked for an access easement agreement to provide ingress and egress to the MUD's existing Commerce Row Water Plant number 2. And that easement agreement was provided to you in your board packet. That agreement has been reviewed and accepted by the district's legal counsel. So we are presenting that this evening for your review and for your approval.
All right, any questions?
Where's the access to on the north side of the plant, on the junior high road?
Yes, right there in between Montgomery Junior High and Stewart Creek. They actually had it staked out. I haven't been by there today. I don't know if the stakes were still out, but they had it staked where you could see exactly where the easement would be.
Anyone else?
Will they be putting any type of road in, or will it just be an easement?
It's just an easement.
Okay.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the easement agreement with Stanley Lake Municipal Utility District as presented?
I'll make the motion.
All right, thank you, Ms. Porton. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Robb. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? That motion carries.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lynn. Now we're moving on to information items. So we're going to 8A, report on cooperative purchasing and management fees.
Okay. If you look in your packet, there's a report on our purchasing cooperatives. Each year, we're required to report which cooperatives we're a member of and any fees associated with those. We're a member of 18 purchasing cooperatives. This allows us to get better pricing and to stay in line with the laws set by the Education Code. 3 of those charge a nominal fee, and the other 15, there's no charge. Is there any questions on that?
No questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to 8B, 23-24 Employee Handbook.
Right, we'll welcome up here our Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, Denise Miner.
Madam President and members of the board, I'm here to share with you the highlights of the updated 23-24 Employee Handbook. So as you know, the purpose of the Employee Handbook is to provide information that will help our employees with questions, and pave the way for a successful year. Not all district policies and procedures are included, and those that are have been summarized. All policies are made available online. All Montgomery ISD employees are expected to acknowledge receipt of a copy of the Montgomery ISD Employee Handbook, as well as agree to read the handbook in its entirety and abide by the standards, policies, and procedures that are set forth. This is sent to them electronically through Frontline, and they're able to sign that through Frontline. And then they also have the option to receive it via hard copy. They just need to contact the HR department, and we'll make sure that they have that. The Model Employee Handbook is provided by TASB HR Services, and we'll take a look at the highlights that they supplied to us this year. The first comes under Searches and Alcohol Drug Testing, policies CQ and DHE. In black, you'll find what is already provided in the Employee Handbook, which states the district may search the employee's personal items and work areas, including district-owned technology resources, lockers and private vehicles parked on district premises, or work sites that are used in district business. What they've added is that disciplinary action up to and including termination may result if an employee refuses to submit to testing or is found to violate policy. Next, under breaks for expression of breast milk, policies DEAB and DG, they've added the Providing Urgent Maternal Protections of Nursing Mothers Act, otherwise known as the PUMP Act. And it requires that an employee to notify the district if they believe the district is out of compliance in providing breaks for a nursing mother. The employee must give the district 10 days to come into compliance before making any claim of liability against the district, and they may contact Shavonda Johnson in HR. And we continue in the same policies, the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, PWFA, which provides consideration of accommodations to employees who have known limitations related to pregnancy, childbirth, or related medical conditions. An employee seeking a PWFA accommodation, again, should contact Ms. Johnson in HR. Under payroll deductions, policy CFEA, it is noted that any overpayments that are made to employees is noted that they are not entitled to the funds the district overpays, and an agreement between an employee and the district must be in place in order to deduct any overpayment from one or more paychecks if an overpayment occurs. And as you all know, under health, dental, and life insurance, policy CRD, we have moved from Texas School Health Benefits to Blue Cross Blue Shield as our medical provider. Under leaves and absences, policies DEC, DECA, and DECB, if an hourly employee does not report or request leave of absence according to district procedures, the incident is considered a no-call, no-show. An employee who is absent for 3 consecutive days without notice is considered to have abandoned their job and may face disciplinary consequences up to and including termination. Underneath family and medical leave, general provisions, you will have noticed in the book that I gave you that they have updated the text of the notice of employee to reflect the revisions posted by the Department of Labor in April of 2023. And that was pages and pages long, so I did not put that in my PowerPoint. Under mental health leave for peace officers and licensed telecommunicators. If you'll notice in blue, those words were added to the title to include telecommunicators. HB 1486 of the 88th regular session of the Texas Legislature, effective September 1st of 2023, extends mental health leave to licensed telecommunicators, police dispatchers. Districts employing peace officers and licensed telecommunicators are required to provide these employees with paid mental health leave. And then leave for police officers for illness or injury, HB 471 of the 88th regular session, effective June 12th of 2023, requires school districts to provide police officers paid and unpaid leave for an injury or illness related to the line of duty. And then this is what it looks like in the employee handbook. A full-time district employed licensed police officer who regularly serves in a law enforcement capacity in a district police department is entitled to a paid leave of absence for an illness or injury related to the person's line of duty. If necessary, the leave shall continue for at least 1 year. If unable to return to work at the end of the paid leave and any extension, a police officer may use accumulated sick, vacation, and other accrued leave before being placed on unpaid temporary leave. At the end of temporary leave, the police officer will be reinstated at the same rank and with the same seniority the person had before going on temporary leave. Under employee arrests and convictions, policies DH, DHB, and DHC added references to policy DHB, which requires the superintendent to report specific certified employee misconducts to SBEC. Added references to policy DHC, which requires the superintendent to report specific uncertified employee misconducts to SBEC, and included paragraphs detailing reporting misconduct requirements for certified and uncertified employees, respectively. Under safety and security, policy CK series, you'll notice that they added "and security" to this particular area. Employees must follow established protocols and response to emergencies for each campus and department. Refer to written security procedures specific to your location and work area. Employees are prohibited from transporting students in personal vehicles. And finally, employees are required to wear MISD badges while on district property and when representing MISD at a district-sponsored activity or event. Administering medication to students, policies FFAC and FFAF, SB 294 of the 88th regular session, effective May 24th of 2023, provides for the administration of medication for respiratory distress by personnel, and SB 629 of the 88th regular session, effective June 18th of 2023, provides for the administration of opioid antagonists by personnel.
Any questions? Pretty straightforward.
Yes.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, next we have 8C, update on the 88th legislative session.
Yes, and we'll have our Chief of Staff, Justin Marino, return to give us that update.
Thank you, Dr. Busby. I know I'm the only person in between you and dinner, so I'll be concise, if we can get it going. There we go. The 88th Texas Legislature did meet earlier this year. As a reminder, the legislature convenes its regular session in odd-numbered years. There's certainly a fair characterization of this session, but they convened on January 10th. They meet for 140 days and ended their session right after Memorial Day on May 29th. A reminder for our community who our delegation is. We have Senator Brandon Creighton. He's the chairman of the Education Committee. Due to the redistricting that took place last year, we now have Senator Lois Kolkhorst. She's the chairwoman of the Health and Human Services Committee. And our House rep is Will Metcalf. He's the chairman of the House Administration Committee. So I want our community to understand that we're blessed with three members of the legislature that hold very high-ranking positions, and we have great representation in Austin. The ADA session by the numbers. After every session, as you a preview from Denise's presentation, there's like a New York City phone book of new bills. And most of those bills that were introduced don't pass in many ways, thankfully, but there were just over 1,200 bills that were passed by both the House and the Senate. 77 bills were vetoed, but if you put it in perspective, that they only go in for 140 days, the lawmakers effectively made eight laws per day when they were in session. So that's quite a expedited way to make laws, but that's how our legislature is constructed. This session, they went into regular session with a lot of optimism. There was an over $30 billion surplus. So there's quite of excitement going in that there would be new funding for public education and a significant property tax reduction. But in the regular session, ultimately, there was sort of a stalemate in both of these items. At the very end, it really came down to public education funding and vouchers. And then I think all lawmakers agreed on property tax reductions being a priority, but it was just how to best enact those reductions. So it took a special session, which I'll get into, to enact the property tax. For purposes of this update, I'll focus on a couple pieces of legislation that relate to this board's legislative platform, and that's safety and security and school finance. School safety, there was legislation enacted that increased our school safety allotment 28 cents to $10 per student. Because it was a nice round number. It allocates $15,000 per campus. Required an armed officer on every campus and silent panic alert button technology. And Montgomery ISD, as proactive as we have been with our school police department and our safety procedures, was actually already in compliance with these particular new provisions. And then in terms of school funding, there was a major school finance bill in the House, House Bill 100. We estimated this bill, had it passed, would have been an additional 3.4, or it was estimated by the Legislative Budget Committee that it would have been an estimated $3.4 million in new money to Montgomery ISD in 2024, and additional $4.6 million in 2025. And that number was in large part due to an amendment that was pushed forward by our state rep on the House side. His amendment kind of reversed some provisions that had occurred in the past that were harmful to Montgomery ISD. So that was those numbers are a result of his work in the House. Unfortunately, the bill did pass the House. It was amended in the Senate to include provisions on vouchers or education scholarship accounts, and then ultimately the bill failed to pass because they could not reconcile the differences between the House and the Senate in what needed to be included in that final version of the bill. So in the end, there was no increase to the basic allotment, no money designated for teacher raises, no money to account for inflation that school districts have been grappling with addressing. Really no new money for public education in the regular session. So immediately after the regular session, the governor called lawmakers back in for a special session. I don't even think they left Austin. I think they stayed there and tried to address or finish their property tax negotiations. Special session 1 ended with no agreement. However, they did come to a consensus in the second special session on property taxes of compression and a homestead exemption. A significant reason for our tax rate tonight is because of what legislators did in that special session. I want our community to understand that you may hear that during the property tax special session that lawmakers put additional money towards school districts for property taxes. Yes, that's true. And that allows us to lower our property tax rate to lessen the burden on our homeowners. The additional money that was sent to school districts through the special session does not mean that Montgomery ISD received more overall funding. It just means we're receiving less funding from local sources. And the big question mark now is, will there be a third special session to specifically address education funding? Many folks are anticipating that to occur in October. We will need to see what the call is when the governor calls them into session. Lawmakers can only consider bills that relate to the governor's call. So a lot of this will be contingent on what he calls them back in for, but speculation is that the special session will address school funding and ESAs, vouchers, however they are characterized. There was a House Select Committee on Educational Opportunity and Enrichment that met this summer and made some recommendations. Our school district was invited to testify in that committee, and the committee took our school district's recommendations for school finance. So that was a positive development. And then ultimately, there will probably need to be an agreement among lawmakers on private school vouchers and funding. What that looks like, it is still very unclear.
All right, are there any questions? Quiet tonight. Did you have one, Dr. Fuller?
I just wanted to say thank you to Mr. Marino for the update and for your tireless work in Austin and elsewhere to tell our story. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, is there anything else? No? With that, at this time, this meeting is adjourned.